Well, Bryan, it's good to see you on the programme again. A lot has changed since we last saw you here. There seems to have been something of a sea change in the way people are viewing the emission trading scheme. Is that the way it is?
Yes, yeah. We've been saying the same thing for years, but now people are beginning to realise that, yes, something is rather odd about the whole thing.
Well, let's go back a bit first of all. So just explain what the idea of an emissions trading scheme is.
Emissions trading scheme is based on, first, the assumption that man-made greenhouse gases like carbon dioxide cause dangerous global warming. Then it's based on the assumption that if we reduce our emissions, it will actually change the global climate. And both assumptions are totally wrong. First, there's no strong evidence that it causes global warming. Phil Jones of the Climate Research Unit in the UK, one of the leaders, has admitted to a parliamentary inquiry there's been no warming for 15 years. And the other thing that's absolutely certain, anything that New Zealand does to reduce its emissions won't have any effect, because the likely effect is that things that we make very efficiently will be made less efficiently overseas with greater emissions. So if we did succeed in reducing our emissions, worldwide emissions will increase. The whole thing's crazy.
Do you think it's feasible that the government will put it in place and then just let it die after that, or?
I don't think you can. Once it's in place, it's not easy to undo. As soon as it goes in place, Huntly Power Station, for instance, will have an increased cost of generation of around about 1 or 2 cents a kilowatt hour. All domestic electricity will go up by maybe 5%, more likely 10%. Well, this is $200 a year per family in New Zealand. This is not peanuts. Just about everything, taxi fares and everything, will go up a bit. So the effect on the average household is not going to be insignificant. The effect on jobs is not going to be insignificant. The effect on our industry and our primary industries is going to be quite serious. Our farmers are going to be in trouble. And here we are, the most efficient farming country in the world, and they're trying to persuade people to give up dairying and grow trees.
Do we, though, have to try something? Because it does seem to be something going on. You know, you hear about places like Tuvalu and Kiribati who are sinking beneath the waves. There's an island gone missing in the Bay of Bengal. You know, that there does seem to be evidence of some sort of climate change. So, I mean, is this just a response to people feeling, look, we must do something?
Yeah, but the climate's always changing. And people call me a climate change denier. Well, hang on, the climate's always changed. I've never denied that, and I never would. And what we're seeing is events which are not abnormal compared to past history, and which are quite happily explained by natural change, solar effects, sunspot effects, all sorts of things. And the sea level gauges at Tuvalu, which are very accurate, monitored by the Australian government, show that there's no sea level rise there. They've got problems with salt water and all sorts of things, but they're not caused by sea level rise.
It's obviously very complex. There is more going on here than just politics.
Money. I just worked out the wind, solar and marine power collectively represent an investment, and that's not really the right word, of $500 billion. It's all wasted. It won't do any good. It doesn't generate power when we need it. It generates very expensive power, and it will make virtually no difference to carbon dioxide emissions, because you can't rely on them being available, so you're running coal-fired and other stations on standby in case they're needed. And when stations are on standby, they're running very inefficiently. So even if there was a problem, it's not the answer to it. If there was a problem and we wanted to fix it, we'd go holers bowlers for nuclear power. And that is much cheaper, much safer. I've never ever said we should adopt it, because I don't know. It's an option we should keep an eye on. But the better option that we've got, I think, is all the coal in Southland. We've got 1,000 years of coal that will give us a constant, predictable, steady supply of power.
When major supporters of National Party policy, like the EMA, are coming out and saying, hold on a sec, we're not sure about this, is that going to have an effect, do you think?
It should. It really should. And I really don't understand why the National Party is hanging on to it. It's something they inherited from the Labour Party. It's something that looked dubious immediately this whole ClimateGate scandal came out. And that was a perfect excuse where others took up to say, this is the time to sit on our hands, have a cup of tea, let's wait and see whether the scandal is really as bad as it seems or whether, in fact, what they're saying is correct.
Do you think there will be an investigation that will come to a conclusion on that?
The ones that we've had so far have been whitewashes in that they've carefully avoided the key questions. They've carefully avoided interviewing the people who are on the other side of the argument, who were interfacing with them. But the general blogosphere, as you might say, the great unwashed, are very much up to play. They've read the emails and they can make their own judgment. They don't need someone else to interpret it. When somebody says, let's make sure that this paper doesn't get published, which they said of a paper by our own Christopher Freitas. They failed, fortunately.
So what next? What will happen next? We just wait and see, I guess.
We've got to wait and see. The more that the politicians realise that it's no longer a vote winner, the more likely we are to get it repealed. And in the end, it just has to. It's something that isn't founded in science, common sense, or anything else.
It's always good to see you, Bryan. Thank you very much for coming in.